Today's Dallas Cowboys report is presented by Magic Spoon. Tastes like the cereal that we grew up with, but is actually good for you. You can get $5 off your first order when you head over to magicspoon.com/Cowboys. That link, by the way, will be in the comment section and in the description. Today's video is all about the defense and a potential, at least as it sits right now, depth chart for the Dallas Cowboys, knowing it'll change once training camp gets here. So let's start with the defensive tackles, one of the biggest areas of concern for me. For now, I guess I'll list them as Neville Gallimore, Tristan Hill, Brett Urban as 1, 2, 3, making note of Odighizuwa, Quinton Bohannon, Carlos Watkins as the other guys. The ordering doesn't matter that much to me because it's going to change. This is your pre-training camp depth chart. It's going to be different. I want to believe in Tristan Hill. I've always wanted to. 2019, it barely played. It was never really on the field. Got 121 snaps in his entire season. 5 tackles, 1 measly tackle for loss. His pressure rate was non-existent. He was better, though, in 2020, especially as a pass rusher. Now, the run defense, well, it was bad, especially early on, and that's not all Tristan Hill's fault. He was a better football player. But now he enters year 3, coming off a torn ACL, with a 3rd defensive line and defensive coordinator in his NFL career. He's a bit of a wild card here. I am intrigued by Neville Gallimore, who late in the season, outside of Demarcus Lawrence, I'd actually argue was the second most impactful defensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, it kind of reached the point where there really weren't many other options. I'm hoping for a breakout year in year 2, and I think there is a role for him under the Dan Quinn defense. The guy I'm very excited about, actually, is one of their free agent pickups, Brent Urban, listed at 6'7", 300 pounds. You'll see him on the defensive end depth chart here in just a second as well. But that's what he brings. He offers that run stopping, can play inside or out. I think he is a great fit for the Cowboys. I wanted a run stopper, and they got one. Now, Osa Odighizuwa, the 3rd-round rookie out of UCLA, was more of a run stopper in college, but he does offer pass rush value. I feel pretty good about him being able to make an impact for this team. So what is your confidence level then in the defensive tackles? Overall, rate this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being no confidence whatsoever, you still want to overhaul everything. 10 being, I think it's the best defensive tackle group in the NFL. And honestly, if you think that, I think you're a crazy person. Let's get now to the defensive ends. You see Brett Urban on both because, well, that's just the reality as far as I'm concerned. I think he'll play a little bit of both roles for the Cowboys. Now, we'll get to Demarcus Lawrence later. We'll spend some time on Randy Gregory, too, in a second. There is going to be a battle. Even if Urban counts as a defensive tackle, Basham and Golston are going to make this team. That's 4 spots already. That leaves Dorrance Armstrong versus Bradley and I for maybe the 5th spot. I'd be surprised if everyone's healthy if they end up carrying 6. That's an intriguing roster that we'll get into later on here on the Cowboys Report. But I am on the record as stating this. I believe that Randy Gregory is primed for a breakout year. I think Gregory, with a normal offseason for the first time in his life, is going to have a true massive breakout season. I'm talking he might double that sack production from 2020, get it all the way up to 7. Now, we'll see what role he plays on base downs, but I think the opportunity is very much here for Randy Gregory. I am excited. I am hyped. I cannot wait to see what Gregory ends up doing this season. We'll get back to the defensive ends here more in depth in a second. But first, folks, I want you guys to let me know what your favorite breakfast food is. In fact, I'm so curious, I'm going to make this question the pinned comment on today's video. So head on down there and let me know what your favorite breakfast food is. Now, as a kid, cereal unquestionably was up there for me, because who didn't love the sugary, tasty breakfast cereal that was just so darn good? Well, I loved it growing up, but as it turns out, not actually very good for you. It's sugary. That's not something that I really should be consuming as an adult, which my dad bod can confirm. So I basically cut out breakfast. But Magic Spoon helping me change that right now. big peanut butter guy. I love their peanut butter cereal. I think it's absolutely delicious. And it's good for me. In addition to tasting good, it helps me cut down on some of the calories. It's high in protein, low in carbs as well. 0 grams of sugar, mind you. That's fantastic because, again, sugar's not great. 13 grams of protein, 4 net grams of carbs, and 140 calories in each serving. That's about as good as it's going to get. I love it, and I think you guys will too. So grab a box, or heck, maybe even 4 of them, by heading to magicspoon.com/Cowboys. That URL gets you $5 off your orders. They've got tons of flavors, and we'll put that link in the comment section and in the description to make your lives just a little bit easier. All right, back over now to the defensive end depth chart here. I wanted to spend a little bit more time briefly on Armstrong versus I. I want it to be an I. I don't know if I'm going to be right there. But the big part of what this Dallas Cowboys team needs to have right now as it relates to the defensive end and the pass rush is better production out of Demarcus Lawrence. Now, I did not say play for a reason. Demarcus Lawrence has been a good football player for the Dallas Cowboys, but the sack production has not been there. Now, there are some extenuating circumstances. They were behind a lot. He's battled some injury in 2019. There are reasons, not excuses, I would argue reasons for that. But you need to see more pass rush production out of Demarcus Lawrence. So get your votes in here for me. Over or under 10.5 sacks for Demarcus Lawrence in this season. Get your votes in right now. O for over or U for under. Let's head now to the linebacker side of things, where I don't know who's going to play when and how often. I'll mention Keanu Neal, Jabril Cox later. Let's start with the bigger names. That's first-round pick Micah Parsons, who I think got the work at middle linebacker to start, but he's going to play some strong side linebacker too in a 4-3 that looks like a 3-4 because it's 2021. Also, who cares? It's mostly a nickel anyway, but he can blitz. That I think will be a heavy role for him on third downs if things go the way I think the Cowboys are planning on them to go. We'll know more in training camp. What I am curious, though, is if Parsons is one of your linebackers on third down, where does that leave Leighton Vander Esch and Jaylon Smith? Because we'll get to Keanu Neal and Jabril Cox. So those are coverage guys. I want to believe there's a 3-down role for these guys, but I don't trust Jaylon Smith in coverage. And Leighton Vander Esch has been so banged up over the years, I thought Jaylon Smith outplayed him down the stretch of last season. Makes it a pretty big red flag for me. And then I mentioned Neal and Cox, right? I like them both because they offer legitimate coverage ability. So all of a sudden, I'm trying to figure out, okay, first and second down, or maybe mostly first downs, a little bit more of a run focus there. Third downs, you're still trying to get your guys involved on the field, but who's out there? I don't know what that situation ends up looking like for the Cowboys. It makes things tricky in terms of figuring out the roles and, most importantly, who's actually out there at any given time. So answer it for me, I guess, in the end, because I don't know what the answer is. Maybe it's Micah Parsons? I'm just not sure. Which linebacker do you guys think ends up playing the most snaps for the Cowboys in 2021? Get your votes in right now. Now, we'll spend a good amount of time here in the cornerback conversation because I don't really know what the roles will look like. I know Trevon Diggs is going to be CB1. I know that Jordan Lewis is going to be the nickel corner. Who's cornerback 2? Kind of seems like a 3, maybe 4-man race. Anthony Brown. I think he's one of those, the favorite, frankly. Now, not all of you like AB, and I get that. It's understandable. He got beat too much last year. He battled through a bunch of different broken ribs. That is understandable. I still think Anthony Brown is a number 3 or number 4 corner in the NFL, getting paid like one, but you want a little bit more. The Cowboys went out and spent a second-round pick on Kelvin Joseph. They want him to be that corner opposite Trevon Diggs, but he missed a lot of OTA and minicamp. This upcoming training camp is going to be critical for him to kind of get back on pace and hopefully earn that starting job, at least at some point in his first season. There was top 100 pick Nahshon Wright, the one I did not like at all. The Cowboys loved him clearly. They were different than most NFL draft teams and people out there, but he had a good minicamp, a good OTA. Maybe he could surprise. I would be happy if that ended up being the case. Meanwhile, you got other guys fighting for a roster spot on this team. C.J. Goodwin, more of a special teams guy. Maurice Kennedy, special teams, nickel outside, like a CB5. Got to beat out Goodwin. And frankly, I wonder what ends up happening to Reggie Robinson, because I want him to be a part of this team. I truly do. I want him to make this roster. He was drafted as a corner, moved to safety, was a Will McClay guy, and now back at corner. Who knows? He is a bit of a wild card there, but maybe shouldn't be overlooked as much as I know I have done in the cornerback 2 conversation. Step number 1, though, of course, is to make the roster. So will Reggie Robinson make the 53-man roster this year? Minimum, he'll be a practice squad guy somewhere, but you want it to be the Cowboys. So get your votes in for me. Y for yes or N for no. To the defensive back room now as it relates to safeties. Get to Donovan Wilson. Get to DeMonte Casey. I don't love the depth. That's a bit of a red flag for me. I don't want Darian Thompson on this team. I would like to go in a different direction at safety 3 or 4. Maybe Jaron Kearse ends up being that safety 3 or 4. That would make me happy if he can be a tight end potential stopper. But we're putting a lot of pressure on 2 guys. Let's go with Donovan Wilson, the one we know more about, because he's been with the Cowboys. It seemed like last year, every opportunity, every time it was a big-time play in the secondary, Donovan Wilson was right there or was the one making it. Now, I think he's going to be a box safety for this team. Maybe I'm wrong. He can do some more free safety stuff. But he was impactful. Missed some OTAs and minicamp stuff. Also a bit of a red flag. But this should be a true breakout year, and not the Xavier Woods breakout year where I thought it happened and then it just kind of fell apart after that. His running mate, in theory, is going to be DeMonte Casey, who I am very pleased is already back from his torn Achilles. That's a big deal. He came back quick from that. Hopefully he stays back, but I'm not concerned about it as we sit right now. A lot of playmaking in his past, not so much in 2020. Hopefully he can become at least a stopgap option at free safety. If there are injuries, I'll be honest, guys, I am very concerned. I want to believe in Israel Mukuamu. I liked him. He's a top 150, almost 140 guy for me coming out of South Carolina. 6th-round pick, though. You don't want to bank too much on that type of player. I don't care for Stephen Parker. Darian Thompson, I don't think is any good. If there's injury to Donovan Wilson and or Jaron Kearse, you might see Keanu Neal back there. But as I've said many a time, I still think safety is the number 1 concern for this team.